Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Lowdown with D-Lo Brown. This is a brand new series that I'm starting here on my YouTube channel to do one of my favorite things, talk about sports. I actually originally started this channel with the intention of it being a gaming channel. However, just a couple months after getting it all started, I stumbled back into collecting sports cards, which at the time I hadn't really thought anything about since I did it as a kid over 30 years ago. But I quickly fell back in love with it, and it's been what most of the content here on my channel has been about over the past year, with a few gaming live streams mixed in here and there. When I decided to shift the focus of my channel from just gaming to also include collecting sports cards, I thought it would be fun to also include just talking about sports in general. The problem I've had is I've been so caught up in the sports cards that I haven't really taken the time to work on this sports talk series at all until now. I figured, what a better time to start talking about sports here on the channel than right now. Arguably America's favorite sport, about to begin its playoffs, which leads to the biggest sporting event of the year, the Super Bowl. So, in this first episode of the Lowdown, we're going to break down each wildcard round matchup, including my picks for the winner of each game. Then we'll take a look at my full playoff bracket predictions, round by round, and finish it off with my Super Bowl matchup and Super Bowl champion predictions. So, without further ado, here's the Lowdown. All right, we're going to start off with the NFC and just go through game by game in order of when they'll be played. So we're starting off with the Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers. This is an always exciting extra divisional game for these two teams. So this will be the third time that they are facing each other this season. And if you follow the 49ers at all, they pretty much dominated the NFC West. They beat all three other teams both times they played them. So I don't really see this one going any differently. But taking a look at the stats here, as you can see, Seattle, they've done pretty well offensively. They've struggled a little bit on defense, which is kind of a change for them. They've been known for having a pretty stout defense over the past, 5 years or so. But this year they couldn't stop the run. And they've been okay against the pass. Overall, teams are putting up a lot of yards against them. And their offense, however, if you remember back to training camp, of course, they traded away Russell Wilson in the offseason. And so they went into training camp in that trade, I guess, they acquired Drew Lock from the Broncos. And going into training camp, it was a QB competition between Geno Smith and Drew Lock. And Geno ended up winning that competition. And so he started the season as the team's starting quarterback. And he did well last season, filling in here and there. Russell Wilson had some injuries that he dealt with last season, and there were a few games where Geno came in and started and played and did pretty well. So I think everybody kind of expected him to win the starting quarterback job coming out of training camp. And what I don't think anybody expected was him to do as well as he did. As you can see, they finished the season 10th best in the league in passing. And, throughout his career up until now, especially early on with New York, with the Jets, he struggled. He didn't do great as a young passing quarterback in the NFL. So, I guess, maybe Nobody could have predicted either way how it was going to go, but I don't think anybody expected them to start off as hot as they were. The Niners, on the other hand, I think they had high expectations. They started the season off ready to go with second-year quarterback Trey Lance, and kind of just ready to move on with Jimmy G. There was a lot of talk about trading him away and all that going into the season, like during the off season, but they held on to him. Were ready to just have him as the backup, which ended up being a good plan. And he ended up stepping in early on, played most of the season as the starting quarterback, kind of just picked up right where he left off from last year. And they've been really successful as an offense overall. And the defense, again, everybody expected to do well, and they have done just that. Really good against the run, just kind of average against the pass, but overall the top defense in the league. So that's a look at the stats. Let's take a look at what it is with the Seahawks. After their Week 11 bye, they went 3 for 4 in their last 7 games, which very easily could have been 1-6. 2 of those 3 wins came against the Rams, and they barely won those games. So not super impressive, but another thing to highlight is their Week 12 game against the Raiders. It was a very close game that they ended up losing in overtime, but the thing to remember for their upcoming matchup today against the 49ers is, in that game, Josh Jacobs ran for 229 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, again, they started off the season strong. A lot hotter than anybody expected them to, I think. But they were just very unimpressive down the stretch. That Week 18 game versus the Rams, they were playing for the playoffs. And, again, it's a very bad Rams team. That game ended up going into overtime, which they won in overtime with a field goal. So is it good to go into the playoffs with finishing the season with a win? Yeah, maybe. But, barely winning against a really bad Rams team to get there, and relying on another game's outcome to kind of decide your fate. Yeah, I don't know how good you should feel about that, but I don't think a lot of people are expecting the Seahawks to do much against the 49ers today, but let's take a look at what it is for the 49ers. Like I touched on already, they've had their injury concerns at the QB position, but the question is, does it even matter? Like I said, they were high on Trey Lance, drafted him as their quarterback of the future. It's been speculated for a couple seasons now that Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't going to be there long. And when they drafted Trey Lance, everybody knew it was for him to eventually take over as the starting quarterback, most likely sooner rather than later, which did end up being the case. They had him sit behind Jimmy G for his first season, but they went into this season ready to hand the reins over and see what he can do. And, I'm sure they wouldn't have done that if they didn't believe he could do well, be successful, and handle it. And, he showed some promise. They won their first game with him as a starter, the first game of the season. Second game of the season, he ended up breaking his ankle and tearing a couple of ligaments, which landed him on the IR. So that turned it right back over to Jimmy G in week 2. And, as everybody knows, they've been a tough team to beat. Like I said earlier, they just kind of picked up right where they left off from last year with Jimmy G as the starter. And, then he ended up getting hurt in week 13 and broke his foot. And so then that left nobody else but the third string quarterback, which happens to be Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in this year's draft, Brock Purdy. The crazy thing is, Purdy has come in and actually been pretty impressive as a rookie. So, again, with the weapons they have, especially now, doesn't even matter who they have at quarterback, as long as they can manage the game and do good enough, complete some passes, hand the ball off to the stud running back, they're set up for success with the weapons they have around a young quarterback who has handled the pressure very nicely. So it's been pretty impressive seeing Brock Purdy step in there and lead the team to finish the season going into the playoffs. Of course, the monster trade in October, they brought in Christian McCaffrey, traded away a bunch of draft picks. Of course, that's worth it. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best, arguably the best running back in the league. Fits San Francisco's offensive scheme perfectly with how they play and what they do. That trade happened after the Week 6 game, going into Week 7. Nobody expected McCaffrey to play in Week 7. He did actually get in the game a little bit, but that Week 7 game was against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it ended up being a pretty big loss for the 49ers. The Chiefs went into San Francisco and kind of put a beating on them. So, however, since that big Week 7 loss against the Chiefs, the 49ers didn't lose another game after that. They finished the season super strong with a 10-game win streak. And not only that, but their defense stepped up during that stretch. During that stretch, they were pretty much just firing on all cylinders on both sides of the ball. So the offense scored 20 or less points just one time over those 10 games. Not only that, the defense only allowed 20 or more points only twice. So, it's hard to beat a team when they're putting up that many points and allowing so few points. So, my takeaway from this game is I don't expect Seattle to have a shot at all. I think they'll be lucky to find the end zone, maybe once. One touchdown with one field goal is what I'm predicting. And San Francisco's offense just running wild all day long against a really bad Seahawks defense. So my prediction is San Francisco wins this one pretty easily with the final score of 38-10, 49ers winning. Next up, we have the matchup between the New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings. So taking a look at the stats here, I think it's no surprise that the Giants are one of the better rushing teams in the league. Saquon Barkley is just an absolute beast, and any success that they've had has pretty much come through him. As you can see, their passing offense has struggled, to say the least. Daniel Jones, I think, is a capable quarterback. The only problem is he can't find a receiver to throw the ball to. They've definitely had their troubles with keeping wide receivers healthy. So when you only have one wide receiver threat, if you can even call Slayton a threat, and a rookie tight end, you're going to rely on your running back. And overall, total yardage wise, they finished the 18th best team in the league, but again, they wouldn't have had the success that they've had without Saquon Barkley. Their defense, I don't know that you can say that their defense has really helped them out much. They're pretty awful against the run and just kind of average against the pass. Overall, kind of lower tier, bottom of the pack type of defense that doesn't really help the team win much. So, the new 500 is what I'm calling it. Finished the season 9-8, with there being 17 games. Not surprising when your defense struggles like the Giants defense has, and your offense is basically one-dimensional. On the other hand, Minnesota Vikings, even though they have one of the best running backs in the league in Dalvin Cook, I was surprised to see that they finished the season only the 27th ranked rushing offense. That blows my mind. On the other hand, when you have an elite wide receiver like Justin Jefferson, things are going to go well for you. This is the new NFL is a high scoring, pass heavy league, and having a quarterback that can get the ball to the receivers and a receiver that can make plays with the ball in his hand is basically setting the team up for success. And that has led the Vikings to finishing the season as the 7th best offense. On the other side of the ball, completely different story. A little worse than average at stopping the run, and second worst at stopping the pass. They have come on a little stronger at the end of the season there, but overall, if you look at their record especially, you can see that their offense has bailed them out and kept them in a lot of games and led to a lot of their wins without much help from their defense. So let's take a look at what it is with the Giants. Like I touched on, Daniel Jones, not a bad quarterback. He's definitely capable, but he just has a lack of weapons. One healthy wide receiver that, at one point cried for more targets just to drop the ball like crazy. And that's been his main guy to throw the ball to. He had rookie Wan'Dale Robinson, who showed signs of promise, I guess. But, the injury bug spread, and just about every wide receiver option they've had has ended up hurt. The most important one being Sterling Shepard, their number one wide receiver, missed most, if not all, of the season. And hard to move the ball downfield when all you have to rely on is the run. Saquon Barkley is basically the only bright spot in this Giants offense. Again, with the defense, they're just not that good. Surprisingly, they started the season hot, winning 7 of their first 9 games. However, they finished the season ice cold, only winning 2 of their last 8 games. Now, it is important to note that they did play the Vikings once already this season, and it was a very close game that the Vikings won on a field goal as time expired. So, that is something to keep in mind going into this game, but I don't expect it to be the same type of outcome. Let's take a look at what it is with the Vikings. Like I said, Kirk Cousins, he's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. I'd say he's good enough. He has definitely learned how to spread the ball around, find his open target. If you take a look at the receiving stats for wide receivers, tight ends, everybody besides running backs that catch a ball is very evenly spread as far as touchdowns go. I think a big pickup for them was trading for TJ Hawkinson. He's been a very good tight end in the league for in his young career, but he's been a very important piece that the Vikings were missing. Just having that middle of the field check down target, big body, can go up and get it, catch the ball, run some people over for extra yards, all that good stuff that you want in a tight end. Hawk can do it. So big pickup for them in the middle of the season. And, they basically have offensive weapons at every position. Again, they were ranked really, really low in offensive yardage on the season, but they do a really good job at setting up the pass with the run. And, so teams, maybe go in with the game plan of stopping Dalvin Cook. I don't know, but Dalvin can break one at any time, and so you can't ignore Dalvin Cook. You obviously have to be ready to stop him, and but having so many offensive weapons, so many dangerous players to get the ball in their hands and score touchdowns and move the ball down the field. It's basically what has led to their success over the season. Their offense has been forced to bail out their defense. Their defense has just been so bad. If you look at their schedule, 11 of their 17 games were one-score games. So that tells you that, their defense didn't help them out much. And the impressive thing about that is they won all 11 of those games. So, again, a team that was silently good, I guess. Their record, they weren't talked about a whole lot all season long. And, other than some maybe highlight plays from Justin Jefferson, and they weren't ever really that big in the spotlight. But I guess you can say they tough them out. They're a gritty team, which I guess is fitting with their signature now celebration being the gritty. But I mean, that's who they are. That's who their offense is. Their defense does just good enough to let their offense carry them into wins. There's been a lot of late games, final drive type wins, and they have the offensive weapons to be able to get the ball last, go down and win the ball game, and it's basically what they've done almost all season. So my prediction for this game is, I think it will be a close one, just because both defenses are not great. The Vikings struggle at stopping the run. The Giants have one of the best rushing offenses in the league. And on the other side of it, the Giants defense just isn't that good all the way around. And it's hard to stop the Vikings passing attack. And, again, Dalvin Cook can go off at any time. So I do see this one kind of just falling in line with how the Vikings games have gone all season long. And I do see them edging this one out over the Giants, winning 31-27. All right, and finally on the NFC side for the wild card round, we have the matchup on Monday night between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now this one, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. So we'll get to that here in a second. Let's take a look at the stats first. The Cowboys they've been a pretty good team on both sides of the ball. At times they've been really good offensively, and at times they've just been kind of okay. A little inconsistent at times. Their defense, struggles a little bit against the run, but they've done very well against the pass. They've got some really good young talent on defense with Diggs in the secondary. Parsons, of course, disrupting just about every pass play, no matter who it is. And they've played well all season, and overall a pretty good team, which is tough to say. Normally you want to make fun of the Cowboys and say how bad they are, but they've just kind of stuck it out and done well all season long. And their record shows that. They finished the season 12-5, which is good for this Dallas team under a fairly new head coach. And everything's just kind of flowing. They do have hiccups here and there that could be costly at times, but overall they've played pretty well. On the other hand, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a good team. I see them in the playoffs, and it just makes me shake my head. Defensively, they're stout. One of the best defenses in the league. And that has been what has won them any ball games, really. Of course, they have what most consider to be the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. And he has he's definitely shown some decline as he is getting older. What has hurt them is they have absolutely no rush offense. They can't run the ball to save their lives. So we'll talk about it here in a minute as to why this bothers me so much. But, stats wise, they look better than they are. And their record definitely shows that. So let's take a look first at what I'm talking about here. So as you can see, I guess this has been kind of maybe a view that I've had for a while now. Maybe the last, 6 or 7 years. There was a year where there was just a lot of average teams and a few good teams. But this year is a good example of what bothers me so much about the current setup of how the playoff rankings are determined. So you've got two really good NFC East teams. The Cowboys picking up a wild card spot and ranked right below a team that was under 500 on the season. To me, that's just silly. That shouldn't happen. Are the divisions necessary? Yes, of course they're necessary. They definitely, it helps to have the team split up into the different divisions for scheduling purposes. And, I'm all for keeping the different divisions, but I don't think the winner of each division should automatically get a top seed in the playoffs. And this is why. An 8-9, below average Buccaneers team should not be ranked higher and get a home field game over a better Cowboys team. It just shouldn't happen. And not only that, for the Bucs to be 8-9, below 500, and seeded as the number 4 team in the NFC is just a joke. Almost everybody in the top 10 was better than the Buccaneers. I think if you look at it, if it came down to tiebreaker for wild card, they wouldn't have even made the playoffs. They would have been below the Packers and the Commanders and the Lions, who all missed it. So it's silly. It's a joke. The NFC South is terrible. And, in my opinion, use the divisions for scheduling purposes and scheduling purposes only. and determine playoff rankings based on the entire conference. To me, that's a more fair way of doing it. Seeing an 8 and 9 team in the 4 seed is just silly. When the 5th seed is 12 and 5 and has to travel and gets an away game, just because a team in a horrible division was the best of the worst. It's silly and crazy and rubs me the wrong way. I don't like it at all. So that's one thing I would love to see the NFL change is, do the rankings for the seedings for the playoffs based on overall conference record, and ignore who won what division. Doesn't matter. So let's take a look at what it is with the Buccaneers. As I've said already, the offense is very one-dimensional. They rely on Tom Brady being able to complete passes, and Mike Evans is an underrated wide receiver in the league. Definitely not talked about enough, not highlighted enough. He's a great wide receiver, and a big reason for any kind of success that Tom Brady has had down in Tampa Bay. Of course, they do have some other weapons. They've got some good young tight ends. Chris Godwin is a very good number 2 stretch the field type of wide receiver on the opposite side of Mike Evans. And, Mike Evans is just that hard nose, go up and attack the ball and find the end zone type of receiver. Really fun to watch. I like him a lot, but don't like this Tampa Bay team. Like I said, when we looked at the stats, their run game is basically non-existent, which is crazy because last year they ran the ball well. Leonard Fournette is still a good running back. I'm not sure if it's a game plan thing or what happened, but it's been tough for them to win because they can't move the ball. Maybe it's their O-line. But I've said a lot of this already, but Tom Brady is finally starting to look his age. He's the oldest quarterback in the league, and he's starting to look like it. Doesn't have quite the zoom or the distance on his throws, and he's struggled this year, and it has shown on some iPads. So I think in today's NFL, defense no longer wins championships. You can have an elite defense, but if you don't have a good offense, it's not going to get it done. And I don't think this Buccaneers team has any chance of getting anything done against a much better Cowboys team. So kind of getting ahead of myself, but out of all 17 games this season, the Bucs only had one impressive win. And it did happen to be over the Dallas Cowboys. But it was also in week 1, super early in the season, too early to tell, how everything's going to shape out. And it wasn't like they blew them out or anything. It was just an impressive win. But all that being said, the Buccaneers just simply should not be in the playoffs. A look at what it is with the Cowboys. A knock on Dak Prescott is he's been very inconsistent over, I don't know about over his entire career, but definitely over the past few seasons. He's dealt with injuries, but when he's played, he shows signs of greatness, but there's plenty of times where it's just bad. It's just bad. This year it's been mostly good, but again, it just consistently inconsistent, I guess you could say. CeeDee Lamb, a star. I think any quarterback will have success if they have CeeDee Lamb to throw the ball to. He's definitely been a bright spot for this offense. But what has been their strong suit is they have one of the best running back, if not the best running back duo in the league. On the other side of the ball, defensive playmakers that make big plays in key moments. That's the main thing. They have blown out some teams, which says a lot about their defense, keeping the other team from scoring a lot of points. And it just so happened to be a good offensive day, and the offense put up a lot of points. But there have also been a number of games that came down to the wire, were close games, and their defense made big plays when they needed to. This offense is capable of scoring at will at times. Again, with the 1-2 punch of Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard, they can run all over you and then go over the top with the downfield threat of CD Lamb. So, and they've showed that they can do that by scoring 40 or more points in 4 of their 12 wins. So pretty impressive stat there. But do they struggle on the road? Their record shows that that might be an issue, as 4 of their 5 losses did come on the road. So something to keep in mind there as we look at this game. Like I said, the Bucs beat them in week 1. This game against the Bucs is in Tampa Bay, which is a joke, but with the road loss concerns that the Cowboys have had, it is something to keep in mind. But with how well they've been playing, and just how much better of a team overall they are, they are far removed from that week 1 game in Dallas when the Bucs came in and beat them. And I don't see there being any chance that there's a repeat of that. So my prediction for this game is, I think the Bucs will move the ball and put some points on the board. I think it'll come down to a few big plays, and maybe a long touchdown by either Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. And other than that, maybe getting in field goal range, kicking a couple field goals. And I think Dallas won't have very much of a problem moving the ball. I expect them to, play with something to prove, show that they deserve to be there and that the Bucs don't. And they just go into Tampa and, come away with a hard-fought but fairly easy victory. And I see the Cowboys winning this one 27-13. Now on to the AFC. Our first matchup is today's game, with the Chargers traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. So this one is my game of the wild card round, I guess you could say. I think this one is going to be the most exciting game out of all of them. I think it'll be the closest game, and it's definitely going to be the funnest to watch, I think. You've got 2 teams that are playing well, and one of them kind of surprisingly so. Taking a look at the stats here, the Chargers, again, another shocker, kind of like Minnesota. They have one of the best running backs in the league with Austin Eckler. He is a little bit different style of running back. He does catch a lot of balls out of the backfield, which has led to them being the 4th best passing offense in the league. But this Chargers team has played well on both sides of the ball all season long. I know their defensive rankings don't really show that. They have struggled to stop the run a little bit, but their pass defense is up there. It's pretty top notch, and they've been able to hold teams enough for their kind of high-powered offense to win them a lot of games. So on the other side of it, the Jacksonville Jaguars have been maybe the surprise of the season. After finishing last season so horribly. A new coach coming in, that normally takes time to develop, but they just kind of took the ball running, if you will, and just again, they were surprising to start the season and have just kept that going. Trevor Lawrence has looked really good in his second year in the league, and that's probably been the most surprising thing, because he doesn't have any top wide receivers to throw to. His main wide receivers are guys that were second and third on their previous teams on the depth chart. So, maybe even fourth. But they've been able to move the ball efficiently, find the end zone plenty, and, their defense kind of spotty, and but they play well enough to keep them in the game, which seems to be typical for most teams these days. If your defense can play good enough for your offense to score enough, then you're going to win the game, and it's what the Jaguars have done. So let's take a look at what it is with the Chargers. This offense runs through Justin Herbert. They have made it all about the pass, and Eckler is capable of breaking it off for some big runs here and there, but for the most part, they get it to him out of the backfield, out in the flats, a short pass that he, just gets yards after the catch with. And really, in my opinion, Austin Eckler in this offense is underutilized. I think they could use him more as a runner, maybe mix in the run quite a bit more, set up the pass with the run, and be even better with their passing offense. One struggle that they have had is they have some top tier wide receiver talent. The issue is they're always injured. I don't think both guys played together until right there at the end of the season. Keenan Allen didn't play in 7 games early on. Mike Williams didn't play in 4 games late, and then Mike Williams left the last game of the season in Week 18 with a back injury, which, by the way, he is out and not going to be playing in this game due to that injury. So overall, the Chargers are a well-rounded team. They just can't stay healthy, and I think it's become what you end up saying about them at the end of the season every year over the past 3 or 4 years is they keep being almost there. They're right there, ready to take the next step, ready to go over that hump and be a good playoff team and make it far into the playoffs, but they're just consistently just almost there. So we'll see how that fares for them today. But what it is with the Jaguars, they are actually very dynamic offense with an okay defense. Again, Trevor Lawrence has looked amazing in his second year. ETN has lived up to the hype. If you remember, he was drafted last year but missed the entire year due to an injury. And so he came into this season with some high expectations, and he has lived up to it for sure. Again, I touched on their wide receiver depth. They do have some good young talent, and but no true number one wide receiver. But you almost have to ask yourself, do they even need a number one wide receiver? Trevor Lawrence has spread the ball around very well. Big pickup for them was Evan Ingram. Came in and has done very well as a tight end. Kind of a nice check down target for Lawrence, and has led to a lot of their success. Just a collection of everybody doing it together. They've been a really good offense. They did have a slow start, which, like I said, a new head coach, it does take some time to adjust and everybody get on the same page and, kind of click, if you will. They did lose 6 of their first 8 games, but they turned it around halfway through the season and finished off winning 7 of their last 9 games, which led to them earning this playoff spot. So, in my opinion, each week they look better and better. I think they're playing better and better every week. Going into the playoffs, that does nothing but help them. Like I said, the Chargers can't stay healthy. Struggled with health concerns at key positions all season long. But when you have a really good wide receiver that doesn't have healthy, good wide receivers to throw the ball to, it's hard to consistently win ball games, which is why I think this is going to be a very close game. I do think it could go either way, but my pick is the Jaguars are going to scratch this one out, if you will, and pull off the victory at home with a 24-21 win. Next up is the Dolphins traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. So, this one's a tough one because I think everybody wants the Dolphins to do good. I think everybody wants the Dolphins to beat the Bills. The problem is it's the Bills. And, the Dolphins just can't string it together. Can't catch a break, I guess. Their offense, their passing offense especially, been very, very good. But that is basically only when Tua is playing. And he's struggling to make his way back from concussion for the second time this season. And, it was announced early in the week that maybe later in the week, that he wasn't going to be available for this game. Bridgewater's still out, so they're left with their third string quarterback and in Thompson, and it's going to make it hard for them to win. The defense has been playing pretty well, and that's really been their key to success when they've had it over the season, is the defense stepping up and giving their offense a chance to be in the game. And especially their game against the Bills, the defense won them that game, really. Offense played well and made some big plays, but the defense did not let Buffalo do their thing. So they're going to need that times 2 to win this first round matchup in the wild card round against the Bills in Buffalo. As you can see, Buffalo, one of the best offenses in the league, both running the ball and passing the ball. Of course, the majority of those rushing yards do come from Josh Allen. He's a different beast. It seems to be impossible to game plan against him. Kind of the Lamar Jackson effect, except for way better passers. So, which you can see. We'll get to the Ravens shortly, but yeah, 7th in the league in rushing, 7th in the league in passing, and that is pretty much all Josh Allen. Their defense, very stout, very good. They are kind of the 49ers of the AFC almost. A really good dynamic offense, super strong defense, just hard to beat. So let's take a look at what it is for the Dolphins. So when they've been good, they've been really good. When they've been bad, they've actually not been that bad. The key thing for the Dolphins is their offense needs their starting quarterback. When Tua doesn't play, they struggle. And, if you look at their record, their defense has played pretty well against some really tough teams. I don't know like difficulty of schedule, like rankings or ratings or anything, but just looking at their schedule, the eye appeal of it, it looks like they maybe had one of the toughest schedules in the league this year. And to have done what they've done, their defense, it's obvious their defense has been a key factor in their success that they have had. Problem that they've had is they are a very streaky team. So they started off the season winning 3 games in a row. After that 3-game win streak, they lost 3 games in a row. After that losing streak, they won 5 games in a row. After winning those 5 games in a row, they lost 5 games in a row before ending up losing or winning their last game of the season, which put them in this playoff spot. So, a key win there to finish it off in week 18. And, again, a sign of a good defense is 6 of their 8 losses were 1-score games. So their defense basically did everything it could to give their offense a chance. But with Tua out as much as he's been, their offense just hasn't been able to get it done. They've struggled to run the ball. They've passed the ball really well. But when Tua's not in there, they struggle to pass the ball. So, I guess kind of a story of their season is they just need more time. Tua almost made his way back and was really close to being able to play this week, but he just needed a little more time to recover before he could be cleared. If they somehow beat the Bills, make it to the next round, I think it's pretty definite that he will be cleared and able to play in that next game. But losing 6 of 8 games to as 1-score games, and Tua almost making it back, you could say is the story of their season is they just keep running out of time. They just keep needing just a little bit more time and not getting it, running out of it. So what it is with the Bills, like I said, they're one of the most well-rounded teams. Excellent offense, tough defense, but their success does depend on Josh Allen. This team is able to beat anybody when mistakes are limited. However, Josh Allen is tied for the second most interception thrown this season with 14. He's tied with a couple of other players. There's a couple with 15 and a few with 14, and he is among those. So tied for second with most interceptions thrown. There's been times where those interceptions happen at key moments of the game that have ended up, causing them to lose the game. But those have been few and far between. Mostly it's just been trying to force the ball too much and do too much. I don't think he has learned yet how to tamper that down and tame it and have control over when to do it. And at times he pushes it too much, and normally they're able to escape the mistakes and still get the win. But that's just because they are a very tough team to beat, especially at home. Over the past 3 seasons, they only have 5 home losses. So they've been good for the past several years, obviously. One of the top teams every year, making it deep in the playoffs. Tough to beat, especially at home. So all that being said, as much as I want it to be a close game and I want the Dolphins to take down the Bills, I don't see it happening. I think it's just too much for the Dolphins to overcome. And if Tua had been able to make it back, I think this would have been a completely different ball game. And but of course, with everything that happened with Damar Hamlin, thank God for that miracle, and he's back on his road to recovering. Looking like he's gonna come out okay. But he did get released from the hospital in Cincinnati, so I'm sure he'll be at the game on the sideline, which is going to do nothing but fuel an already good Buffalo team. So I expect Buffalo to come out just torching it, lighting it up on offense, shutting them down on defense. I don't see this one being close at all, with the Bills winning 34-14. The next AFC matchup is the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a rematch of the Week 18 game. Very same thing. Baltimore will be traveling to Cincinnati. So it's just kind of a do-over, back-to-back weeks, which is kind of odd. But the whole situation with the game getting canceled between the Bengals and the Bills, it caused some controversy with the way the NFL handled it. And a lot of Bengals fans and, maybe the team in general feels like they got the short end of the stick on it. Impossible situation. I don't know that there is any right way to handle that and make everybody happy and, do what feels completely right. But the Bengals did end up beating the Ravens, which made a big difference on their playoff seeding. Had they lost, they would have had the same divisional record, and it would have come down to like a coin toss to who got home field for this game, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So anyways, look at their stats. As you can see, Baltimore, like usual, one of the top rushing offenses. We all know that that's because they have a running back playing quarterback, which is also obvious in their passing offense. They are one of the worst, right down there at the bottom, and they just are awful at passing the ball. Defensively, kind of in that upper tier. They play tough defense, and they have especially been tough here at the end of the season. Almost impossible to run the ball against them. And they do okay against the pass, but just overall a good defense. On the other side of it, the Bengals, they've continued their impressive success on really both sides of the ball. They don't look like it on their stats, but they're right up there with the Bills, and in my opinion, right behind the Chiefs. I say that even though the Chiefs lost to both teams this year. But, those are all kind of 1A, 1B, 1C. So their stats don't show it, but one of the top teams in the AFC for sure. And they've been really good on offense and just look like they continue to get better. Almost impossible to stop their pass. And, they've got some dangerous receiving weapons and, a running back that can mix it in there and get some big plays, running the ball and catching it out of the backfield. And their defense has been solid. So this will be, a typical AFC North, really good matchup. What it is with the Ravens, they do have success with Lamar Jackson. Everybody knows it's hard to defend the Ravens offense with Lamar Jackson as the quarterback, just because you do never know when he's going to run or when he's going to pass. And when he does run, it's hard to bring him down. It's hard to stop him. He just seems to just break off for big run after big run. The problem is he's injured, has been for the last several weeks, and this offense struggles to score without him. on top of that, they can't keep running backs healthy. And even when they are, they don't seem to be, this year, they don't seem to be much of a factor. So it's kind of abnormal. Normally they are very heavy in the run pass option, and that involves, the running back running it, Lamar running it, or possibly passing. But, the reason they've been one of the top rushing teams is because, when Lamar Jackson does hand it off, the running backs do their job and are good at it. This season, they've struggled to be healthy. They've struggled to stay healthy, and they just haven't done very well. On the defensive side, they are a tough defense that shuts down the run. At times, they do struggle against the pass, but to finish off the season especially, they still keep finding a way to keep teams out of the end zone, which is a huge deal. They've held teams to 16 points or less in 7 of the last 9 games. So definitely finishing the season off strong defensively. Is that enough against this tough Cincinnati matchup? Not sure that's going to get it done. What it is for the Bengals, again, they're playing great on both sides of the ball, and they have been all season. Like I said, really the offense has been good and looks like they just continue to get better, and the same can be said about the defense. Pass blocking was an issue last season. I think Burrow was the most sacked or most pressured quarterback last year. This year, he's not having to escape the pocket as much. It does still happen, and when it does happen, he's actually become really hard to sack. He almost looks like a more nimble Ben Roethlisberger, just somehow getting away from, a lineman or a linebacker having him wrapped up or having their hands on him, and he's still getting away from it, throwing the ball downfield, finding his target, completing that pass, and moving the ball. So it's his ability to escape the rush has led to their improvement, really, their steady improvement. A couple of cliches, I guess, about this team that you could say is they have hit their stride and they're firing on all cylinders. Nobody likes to be cliche, but they're true. I mean, they are looking good and, just having success, doing well, and keep getting better. Really tough team to beat. Similar to the 49ers, their last loss was in week 8 at Cleveland. Since then, they finished the season with an 8-game win streak. That canceled game is right there mixed in with that, but it was canceled. It doesn't count. So, finishing the season with 8 straight wins, speaks to their success and leads to my prediction. I do see the Bengals not having any problem in this game. The Ravens defense is best at stopping the run. The Bengals don't run much, and they're good at exploiting what the defense will give you, and the Ravens defense will give you some passing yards. So the Bengals are good at that, and they're going to take advantage of it. I see them winning this game 33-10. All right, so here we are with the bracket. I've got all of my picks entered in here already, so wanted to kind of do some predictions on the rest of the playoffs after this first wild card weekend matchups, and we will again start on the NFC side. We'll start with the Cowboys and Eagles game. Of course, the Eagles went undefeated for a good majority of the season. The Cowboys did knock them off, there towards the end. And, the Cowboys have been playing really, really well. But the Eagles, maybe the most well-rounded team out of all of them this year. Their defense has just not allowed anybody to do anything, and their offense, when Jalen Hurts is in there, has been able to basically do whatever it wants. Everybody's been calling for Philadelphia to run the ball. They actually finally started doing that, and probably wish they would have listened a long time ago, because they've been almost impossible to stop. And I don't see Dallas going into Philadelphia and knocking off the Eagles for a second time. So I am picking the Eagles to move on in that game. Now, my sleeper pick is this one right here. I think the 49ers might be favored to make it to the Super Bowl from the NFC. However, it's been the Vikings' MO all season long to play teams, like especially good teams. They play them tough. They're close games. And the Vikings somehow seem to pull it off, right at the end. They find some way to get it done. And, a lot of people might disagree with this, but I am going with the upset here. And I am picking the Vikings to go into San Francisco and come out with the upset. So we are looking on the NFC. We're looking at a NFC championship game of the Eagles and the Vikings. On the AFC side, we will start with the Jaguars and the Chiefs. As good as the Jaguars have been, I think they are too young, too inexperienced, and just overmatched against this Chiefs team. The Chiefs have had their struggles during the season, obviously. I mean, their two top competitors in the AFC are the Bills and the Bengals, and they lost to both of them. They did beat the Jaguars earlier in the season, and I don't see that changing. I don't see there being a different outcome. Of course, being in Arrowhead. One thing to note, they are coming off a bye. Did they deserve to get the number 1 seed and have that bye? Again, that's up to the NFL. Did they handle that right? Probably not. Honestly, as a Chiefs fan, I actually would have been okay if the NFL would have said the Bills get it, because they beat the Chiefs. Even though the Chiefs had a better record, you take that game away that got canceled between the Bills and the Bengals. So take the one of the Chiefs wins away, I guess. And I would have been totally fine with them giving the number 1 seed to the Bills instead. But that's not what happened. The Chiefs, the only 14 win team in the AFC. Again, a situation that's almost impossible to feel like it's 100% right and, handle it in a way that is going to make everybody happy. It is what it is. The Chiefs got the number 1 seed, and coming off of a bye week, Andy Reid is almost unbeatable. In his career, he's something like, I want to say it's like 23-3 or something like that coming out of a bye week. So an insane winning record coming off of a bye week. So that definitely is going to play a factor into this game. And obviously I see the Chiefs winning that one. The next game will be the game of the week in the divisional round. Of course, the game that everybody wishes could have been played, meant a lot. It's super surprising that they just canceled it. But again, is what it is. It happened. I do think these two teams will be facing each other here in the second round of the playoffs. And it's going to be a really good game. It's almost impossible to pick a winner here, just because it could very, very easily go either way. But, some may see it, look at it as an upset, but they're so evenly matched, in my opinion, that I don't really see it that way. I do believe the Bengals are going to pull this one off and just outperform the Bills. They just, in my opinion, they look better. They're playing too good, and call it an upset, call it what you will, but I see the Bengals winning that one and moving on to the AFC Championship for an AFC Championship rematch between the Bengals and the Chiefs. And since we're on this side, we'll just go ahead and stick with that one and finish it off. The Bengals, there's no question, for whatever reason, somehow, they've had the Chiefs' number. Joe Burrow is undefeated against the Chiefs in his career, which is insane. But if this unfolds this way, this AFC Championship game will be in Kansas City, which it's a big deal. Everybody knows it's hard to play in Arrowhead. It's hard to win as a visitor in Arrowhead. And, the Chiefs are definitely going to be after revenge. They're hungry. They want it. I know the Bengals want it too, and they are a good team that is playing really well. But so are the Chiefs. And, call it a homer pick. I like to think I'm a pretty impartial Chiefs fan and able to call it how it is, but I don't see the Bengals continuing their win streak against the Chiefs. I see the Chiefs getting some revenge in, not just last year's AFC Championship game, but in this year's earlier matchup, and the Chiefs moving on to go to the Super Bowl. On the NFC side, I don't see the Vikings riding the high of upsetting the 49ers. And, again, all season long, the Eagles have been maybe the best team in the NFL. And, they're too good to lose to a team like the Vikings. Even though the Vikings are tough and they take it to the limit, take it to the end, somehow find a way, I don't see them finding a way against the Eagles. So I'm looking at a Super Bowl matchup of the Chiefs versus the Eagles, which will be an insanely entertaining game. And, again, when it gets down to these caliber of teams trying to pick a winner, it's almost impossible. But when your favorite team is one of the best teams in the NFL, it's really hard not to pick them. It's hard to take the emotion out of it and say that they're going to lose. It's hard for me to not pick the Chiefs, just because of watching them play every week, and knowing the team. I think the Eagles will be a very, very tough matchup, and won't be an easy win for either team. But Andy Reid, headed towards being the best coach of all time, and they know how to game plan. Mahomes knows how to find his weapons. They have more weapons than the defense can cover. The defense steps up and does what they need to do when they need to do it. And I gotta call it. I see the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, and I feel good about it. So that's it. That's gonna do it. Thanks for tuning in to this very first episode of the Lowdown with D-Lo Brown. And I appreciate any love that you give the video to the channel by subscribing, liking, comment below. Tell me how you agree or disagree, what I got right, what I got wrong. The fun part about talking about sports is having that conversation and talking about it. The way you can do that is by commenting on the video. Let me know what you think. I know that there's going to be people that agree with my picks, but let me know what you thought of my outtakes, my breakdowns, and tell me how you would pick different, or maybe let me know what you think I got wrong, or what you agree with and what I got right. I'm very interested to read and see your feedback. But I am trying to grow this channel, and it would mean the world to me if you showed this video some love. I'm very excited about getting this series up and going, and just to kind of give you an idea of what's to come. My next video, obviously I'm going to do some update videos as the playoffs progress, and so after we know who's going to be in the next round, we'll jump right back on, make more predictions, do a breakdown of each matchup, and do this all over again. But we'll also be looking at the upcoming XFL season and kind of taking a deeper dive into the XFL, how their rules are, how their game is played, and how it compares and varies from the NFL that we're all used to. And if you watched the XFL before, then you kind of have an idea of how they play and what some of their rules are. But there is some pretty big differences, and we'll take a look at those. And then another following video after that will be as the Major League Baseball season approaches. We're just a few months away from the regular season starting. Players are going to be reporting to spring training soon, and so baseball's right around the corner. As you know, last year there was a new collective bargaining agreement that involves some rule changes, so we will take a look at those new rules taking effect going into this 2023 season. And I'm excited for the baseball season to start, and to get that video made and look at what's going to be different. So those are some things to look forward to coming up in the near future for this series. Again, I appreciate you tuning in and can't wait to see your feedback. Subscribe if you haven't yet. That helps the channel grow, but it'll also let you know whenever I do post new videos. Again, I also do gaming on the channel, so whenever I go live with that. But with the sports cards, I also do something that, if you're not familiar, they're called card breaks, and I do host those. You can check out information about those on my website, which is dlocardbreaks.com, and just head to that website, and it gives you all the information you need about my card breaks, which is just in a nutshell. Card breaks are a way to get your hands on, maybe some upper end product that you normally wouldn't buy for yourself, and you can get certain teams and more of what you're looking for and what you want out of those kind of products in a very affordable and fun way. It's just kind of a unique and fun way to collect sports cards, and I have a lot of fun doing it and would love for more people to join those and get on those. So check out the website dlocardbreaks.com for more information on how to join those. One perk that everybody should do if you are interested in the card breaks is become an insider. I do have an insider group It's called DCB Insiders. There's a link on the website for that. But the rewards and the perks for being an insider are completely free. There's no charge to join and become an insider, and it gets you some pretty good deals and rewards and perks and that kind of thing for joining in. So thanks for tuning in. That's going to do it for this episode of The Lowdown. I'll see you next time.